I was on one of my many road trips from California back to Minnesota, and this was around the marriage equality debate time. So, it was still in the courts in California because it was legal, it was illegal, it was legal again. Minnesota had been the first state to defeat a marriage amendment, and it was just a very turbulent time from a marriage equality time. And so each time I crossed over a different state line, I would ask myself, well, what relevance does this state have to LGBT history? What relevance does this state have to LGBT history? When I got to Wyoming, of course, I thought about Matthew Shepard. And I wanted to lay flowers at the fence that he was chained up to and left for dead, and it wasn't information that was readily available. And I thought, how is this not possible? I was like, there should be a road trip guide for LGBT folks. Fast forward a bunch of years, I ended up speaking at a National Coming Out Day luncheon, and Judy Shepard, Matthew Shepard's mother, ended up being one of the keynote speakers there as well. And it was like the 19th anniversary of Matthew's passing, and it dawned on me that this family is living through the worst day of their life every single day for 19 years for me and my community, and I thought that I needed to do more. So within 2 weeks, I was meeting with the publisher. Within 2 months, I started writing the book, and 2 years later, the book was out in October 2019. One of the first ideas for the book was, if somebody were to come out, like this could be like a gift to them. Especially since, LGBT folks aren't normally raised in queer homes. And so it's like, where do you learn about your history then? I would think it would be an amazing welcome gift for somebody from that perspective. But then as well, now there's 5 states that actually require the teaching of LGBT history in schools. And Illinois is one of those states. And so they've actually approved for the use of my book for their LGBT curriculum there. But the other states are New Jersey, Colorado, California, as well as Oregon. One of the first challenges I knew that I was going to have to get over is how do you make it so that all the history isn't in a California, New York, Florida kind of situation, right? And so what I did is each state is broken down into people, places, and queer facts. And so I was like, well, how do I spread out all of these people? And so I ended up crediting everybody's contributions back to the state that they were born in. And so that ended up being the great equalizer, because when you think of an Ellen DeGeneres, you wouldn't necessarily think of Louisiana, though that's where she's from, and so her contributions get credited back to her home state. And so doing it that way, it really spread the wealth in regards to the LGBT history from across the country. But as well, each state really did have their own flavor as it relates to history. There's certain states, there's still more challenges, right? Because there aren't as many protections as there are in other states. But there's still history and significant folks nonetheless from each and every one of them. LGBT history is difficult to find because people haven't been able to be out for an extended period of time. There's a huge chunk of our country's history where if you were out, you could be hospitalized, you could be arrested, lose your job and your family, even though that's still the case for some folks now. But I ended up enlisting an army of queer youth to help me do the research. So that was great because it was like this, partially a community effort where they got to learn about their own history. They got to help pick the state that they wanted to. Some of them did their home state, some of them did other states. But it was great to be able to have, that collective effort in regards to coming up with the facts necessary for the book.